Hi everyone, thanks Jean-Jacques and Christian for the introduction. I'm Olivier Sommier from ERTUS Group, a company which provides the Process2Wine software. My presentation will be titled How to Simplify Your Daily Work Using Process2Wine, a smart viticulture solution. So my presentation will explain how was deployed the solution. After we will tackle uses in 3 different cases: vineyards, cellar, and reduction of the environmental footprint impact. In each case, I will explain several applications where you can take advantage of this new sensor with our platform. Finally, I will conclude with the benefits you can get from this solution. The deployment takes place in Dubourdieu domain, as Jean-Jacques explained previously. There are more than 300 plots, so it's very difficult to have a good overview. Dubourdieu domain are using Process2Wine for several years. Process2Wine is a complete web and mobile collaborative app, allowing you to track the data on your wine estate from the plant to the bottle. More than 700 users work daily with Process2Wine. This represents about 22,000 hectares of vineyards. There are 2 user interfaces. The desktop one is designed for managing, scheduling, and advanced operation, while the mobile interface is very useful for daily work in vineyard or cellar or basic use. There are 3 versions according to the needs of our customers: the basic, standard, and enterprise version, where you can find all the features required for the wine industry. We launched a new module for IoT this year. Sensors do not always transmit directly relevant information. It is often necessary to process the data, apply formulas, create aggregation, calculate averages. That is the job of this new module. So the first step is to deploy your network. You have to install a gateway which will retrieve data from the sensors. A gateway is an hardware that you commit in the internet through your ADSL model. It is also connected to an antenna placed high up, for example, on a roof. After configuration, that's it. You are ready to deploy your wireless and low consumption network. In our case, we deployed 3 main gateways. You will see on the image on the right that the coverage area depends on the location of the gateway. From sensor view, we deployed 9 Davis weather stations, 8 mini weather stations, 19 ambient sensors for cellars, 28 water meters, 7 electricity meters, 1 fixed camera sensor, 1 mobile camera sensor, and 1 insect trap. First of all, let's look at the management of the vineyard. The first application will be the fight against spring frost. As a sensor, we will use a weather station, but also the weather forecast. We can correct the data with a micro weather station. As they are very small, they can be placed directly in the vineyard at the level of the buds of the wines. Every day, starting in the early afternoon, we will retrieve the data from the sensor and the weather forecast, and thanks to the model we have developed, we will be able to anticipate the temperature reached at sunrise, in red on the graph, which is usually the lowest temperature of the night. Every hour until sunset, the model will update the lowest temperature so that you will be warned if you have to wake up in the middle of the night. In this case, thanks to Process2Wine application, you can display on a map the temperature of each sensor in near real time. In fact, the sensors send data every 15 minutes. You can finally make the right decision with real precision. Thus, this first case shows the whole chain from data collection to decision making with the calculation on heterogeneous data coming from sensors and the internet. The second application will focus on phytosanitary treatments. Reducing dependence on pesticides will be a major challenge for the coming years. For example, a decrease of 50% is expected in the coming farm to fork strategy, depending on Green Deal launched by the European Commission. In France, the subject of pesticides has been very controversial for several years now, especially in the vineyard, where 20% of the products are used or only 3% of the agricultural surface. We started working on this 5 years ago to help wine growers meet the challenge of pesticides reduction, and now the sensor will help us to take it to the next level. I was thinking, led us to create a decision support system to manage the complexity of the programming of phytosanitary treatments. In the context of precision viticulture, this means spraying a plot only if necessary. With more than 300 plots, like in Dubourdieu domain, it's quite difficult to manage it accurately without dedicated solution. But with less plots, it can be a little bit tricky too. The first step is to define a strategic planning. It starts with the configuration, the disease to be treated, the plot with specific sensitivity to each disease, the pesticides to use, but also the equipment, the sprayer and tractors. As this is a real tool, it manages organizational aspects until it will propose a spraying itinerary. Once all this is defined, the model will calculate the schedule to determine the quantity of product to buy, the time needed, and so on. We will then obtain the schedule with all the theoretical treatments for the next season, as you can see in the picture. At the bottom of the screen, a timeline enables you to navigate through the work schedule to make sure that all the plots are sprayed according to the need of each plot. At this stage, it's possible to calculate several schedules in order to make simulation, for example, on a gradual transition to organic farming, or to evaluate the impact of different weather scenarios. In the end, the user must choose the schedule he wants to use and validate it. The second step is to run the operational spraying schedule. We will launch it for the next campaign. It will start at the beginning of the season. Each day, we will retrieve weather forecast and data from the weather station. Situation from a plot to another can be very different, more or less rainfall, higher or lower temperature, or so on. Accurate data will be sent to the epidemiological DSS. A correction of the result of the epidemiological DSS can be done with the mini weather stations according to the data really observed in the plot. The user can enter the availability of each plot on each equipment. Every morning, the system will propose the most suitable work orders for the current day and also for the following days. The wine grower can accept the proposal, modify the data, and recalculate new proposals. But don't worry.
Più adatta per la giornata e per quelle successive.
Une proposition et vous créez vos heures de travail.
At the end, the work
Al
order.
final, la orden de trabajo se mostrará en el teléfono inteligente.
The tractor driver can reuse Process2Wine as a multi-touch and easy of use console to improve operational efficiency and reduce input costs. The wine grower or the wine manager can consult the sprays in real time or offline to ensure that the work is carried out correctly. This second example shows how the sensor can help to achieve greater accuracy and solve complex situations. It creates added value by reducing cost and optimizing working time. The third case of application concerns insect monitoring. During the season, each insect trap should be visited several times per week. This takes a lot of time. Now, thanks to the connected insect traps, you will receive the information directly on your smartphone in the Process2Wine application. No need to connect to another application to retrieve the data.
5 minutes missing, Olivier.
Okay. The fourth case is just to show that connected objects can meet special needs. Here you see an innovative Dubourdieu domain building to ensure a correct composting process. From time to time, a standalone Noria aerates the compost. Temperature and humidity must be monitored weekly to ensure that the microorganisms can effectively break down the organic matter. If it is not the case, it will be necessary to restart the cycle of the Noria. If you have specific needs, ask us. The sensor you are looking for probably already exists, and we can integrate it in your app. Let's go now for the cellar part. The first application concerns the monitoring of fermentation. It's now a basic request to remotely gather the temperature of tanks. For security reasons, you can easily add a CO2 sensor. You will be warned if the level is too high. Like the other sensor, data will be displayed in the same application. Some suppliers are developing connected devices to check the hygiene process. Dubourdieu domains are interested to integrate barrels banks, for example, to the infrastructure. Some parameters you can retrieve are wine temperature, liquid level, cellar temperature, percentage of hygrometry, atmospheric pressure, dissolved gases like O2, CO2, or volatile gases like CO2. For the atmosphere in buildings and other warehouses, you can use this tiny type of ambient sensor. Temperature and humidity are the two most common parameters you can retrieve. Since the sensors are mobile, you can move them around and use them in vineyard in the spring to fight frost, and in building in the summer to monitor the temperature in warehouses. Like other data, they are automatically recorded in the platform so you can get a set of historical data. An abnormal value will trigger a warning if threshold has been set. In this last part, I will tackle the environmental footprint impact. Sometimes regulation requires a lot of documentation to ensure compliance. It is also often necessary to promote environmentally friendly actions and communicate factual data. This action often takes a long time. Connected objects can help in many cases to reduce data access time. The first application concerns water consumption. Use a connected water meter allow to recover a daily water consumption. We can monitor water consumption, record data, create a dashboard, and warn each month if consumption exceeds the value of the previous year. Leak detection will be a powerful tool to reduce water waste. Irrigation of wines was not tackled because it's forbidden in Bordeaux. However, we are working on this subject as part of a project for North America, also with connected devices. The second application is electricity consumption. Like for other consumption, we can monitor electricity consumption, create a dashboard, and warn each month if consumption exceeds the value of the previous year. The last but not least is also energy consumption. It concerns gas oil. This point was not deployed, but appropriate sensors exist. Dubourdieu domains are very interested to continue to add new bricks. It's cost effective as the infrastructure is already deployed and there is no extra communication fees. So my conclusion with Process2Wine can help wine growers to solve practical and complex problems while creating a reliable and accurate technology they can use every day. We provide appropriate tools to monitor large data sets needed in precision viticulture. We can bring a free-only user interface, and we offer an open and affordable solution allowing the integration of sensors from several suppliers. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Olivier. Really interesting. So I remember at the end the Q&A session.